The lights are off and away they go.
Extremely loose. He's managed to hold on. I think he missed the complete. That is crazy stuff.
Side Freitas is on the grass on the infield before. He slides through. He tags Richard Eck. Good evening, race fans, live for the most iconic oval racetrack in the world, the Indianapolis Motor Speedway on the famous 16th Street in downtown Indianapolis, Indiana. The Brickyard plays host to this evening live on the Global Sim Racing channel to round 11 of the Season 2 championship for the LionHeart IndyCar Series. 100 laps and 250 miles must be endured before we can give out the checkered flag at our second Triple Crown double-point shootout on a 2015 racing calendar. I want to welcome our viewers into the GSRC broadcast booth with the crew all here this evening, as always, on every Wednesday night. Alongside myself at the booth is Sean Ambrose. Our director in the studio is Amjad Yaman. My name is Evan Pasoko. We are so glad to have you joining us for what is most likely, scratch that, it is the most anticipated race and could be very well the most exciting race we see all year. Sean, normally I'll throw a quick track fact at you or something, but all I have to say is it's the Brickyard.
It is the Brickyard, and when you start thinking about some of the names that have run around the Brickyard, your Foyt, Andretti, John Cock, the Unzers, it's very legendary. And tonight, I think we're maybe in store for a legendary battle because these times have been very fast. These guys have been running really close. You've got to get around this joint 100 times, and it's a long race, so it's going to be really interesting to see how these guys either choose to spread out or race close and how long they choose to do it. Because any mistake here could end your race real quick.
Whatever you think IndyCar, the staple is this Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Talked briefly about it. This racetrack, obviously located in Indianapolis, Indiana, has a capacity of 257,000 plus. And by the way, typically gets packed almost to full capacity every time the 500 rolls around. It becomes its own city. It's got a flippin' golf course on the infield. This place is absolutely huge. Oh, by the way, it opened 105 years ago. Without a doubt, one of the most iconic racing facilities that you'll see anywhere, especially on iRacing, and we have a privilege to bring it to you for round 11. The track itself, though, 2.5 miles in length. Call it an oval. Technically, it is a rectangle with 490-degree corners. Those small short chutes in between 1 and 2, in between 3 and 4 can be very interesting. And that progressive banking at 9 to 12 degrees. It's always fun when you head out to Indy. The practice session is starting to roll down to a close. Just about 2 minutes left in our 1 hour open practice session. Then 5 minutes of closed qualifying, and then we're going at it for 100 laps. This is not one of our normal events. It is as far as you're getting points. However, you're getting double points, and there's as well some prizes, some things to walk away with if you become the victor this evening, Sean.
Yeah, there's a lot at stake for the winner tonight. There's literally some hardware to go home with. First of all, they get $5 iRacing credits, and that's just the tip of the iceberg. A book about the Indy 500 and its history, a hardcover book, be sent to the winner. An 18 by 24 inch sim poster from John Downing over there at Sim Posters, and a gratis, which means free, paint scheme from Overdrive Graphics and Justin Laxton and the crew over there. So yeah, there's a little bit at stake tonight, a little chance to get some free stuff to the winner. And I have a feeling we might see somebody different in Victory Lane tonight, Evan. We'll have to wait and see, but I don't know, I've got a hunch tonight.
Heartbreak, upset, some of the names that you can use to describe races that we have seen at this very facility in the past. For those that may be unfamiliar, I want to give everybody again just an update on what some of the league rules and points are. Again, this evening being our second Triple Crown on a 2015 racing calendar. It is a double points night. No resets. What you get is what you get. You can't go back there, pull another one off of the trailer, go back out on track. So you really got to be able to survive 100 laps at Indianapolis, which is easier said than done with the fixed setup. Everybody out there has exactly the same setup. So it's about driving the car. It's about using that driving talent to gain any sort of an advantage that you can. And we've seen it a couple times this year when we head out to these oval tracks that it can really get us very exciting and very interesting with the battles that these setups have produced. LCQ is in play, not going to be a factor tonight. Looks like we're sitting at about 27 or so drivers. 23 of them put down a time in practice, as qualifying is just moments away from getting set to go. And do have to remind everybody there are 3 drop weeks in this championship out of the 18 total races. Something to note after we just passed the halfway point in the points just about 2 weeks ago, as this is round 11 of 18. In the hunt for this 2015 Season 2 championship, we were at Kentucky just 1 week ago for our last time out. Sean, let's take a look at some of the results from there.
Yeah, well, Kentucky was a pretty great event, actually, but Big Joe Hassert slips in a win there, and Matt Kingsbury and Jesse Vincent closely behind there, but Justin Laxton was the guy who made a lot of hay there at the end and tried to make a move on Jesse towards the end of the race, and felt better to just finish 4th place and get a nice points night for himself. Ian Adams comes home in 5th there, and Jason Robarge, Vincent Blumenthal back there in 6th and 7th, and Carl Burke, Mark Norbert, and Robert Bluen rounded out the top 10 of a very exciting, very fast race last week at Kentucky Speedway, Evan.
And then you take a look at the updated championship standings. It is no surprise that the driver that sits atop the pile has the most trips to victory lane and therefore sits with the most trophies and the most checkered flags. It is Jesse Vincent, top of the pile in 10 starts, has 7 top 5s, 8 top 10s. Oh, so consistent. However, besides the 4 wins, not necessarily the best statistics in consistency, because you look at Matt Kingsbury, he beats Jesse by 1 as far as the top 5 category. 8 for 8, top 5s, top 10s, only 2 times this year has he not finished anywhere up there inside of the top 10, 11th on back. So if he has a good night, he is up there and in the thick of things. He's at 65 points back. How about Big Joe Hassert back there, 106 back in 3rd. Ray Kingsbury also sitting with 1 trip to victory lane, 114 off, and a driver that you just mentioned in those Kentucky Speedway results, Justin Laxton, 5th in the overall championship standings, picked up 2 spots, jumping over Rick Music and Trevor Malone in those standings. The highest running driver in the points, yet to see a checkered flag so far this season. We have seen him be strong. We expect the same this evening. Currently a P4 car, provisionally in the qualifying session, was a top 5 in practice. Sean, I don't think we're going to be able to go the rest of this Season 2 campaign without seeing Laxton get to victory lane, considering how strong he has been. What's the key you think that team would have to look for from translating those solid runs? You take a look at his stats, 3 top 5s, 7 top 10s, though, so that's a number that's right up there with top 3 guys in points with those 7 top 10s on the year. What does that team maybe, think that they need to do to be able to translate those solid runs and finish it out at the end, and could Indy be the place?
I think Indy could be the place. Justin's got a really good shot here to kind of just settle in, run his race, hit his marks at a track where hitting your marks is so important because of just the way these turns transition being so flat. And I really think Justin and his team have got a great shot today to get out there and, like I said, have a nice, consistent, solid run and maybe get that car up on the podium today. It would certainly be nice to see him win this thing. There is a lot at stake today. He could take another big jump in the points with a nice victory here. But, I was talking to Jesse Vincent back at the hauler here before the race, and he was telling me he's not really a big fan. He doesn't expect much from himself tonight. I don't know. We'll have to see, but it's hard for me to believe that Jesse Vincent won't be a player at the end of this thing.
You're watching Chris Poole currently go through qualifying, just about 1 minute and 20 seconds and change or so left in this 5-minute closed qualifier session that sees all these drivers out there by themselves. 2 laps, fastest one counts towards your qualifying time, and unless you have an issue, you would expect that to be the second time around the racetrack. Need to thank the people that make this series possible, and we already mentioned their names. Well, some of them in the championship and results, as well as bringing 50% of the payout, we'll call it, for the winner tonight, and that is the folks at both Overdrive Graphics and Sim Posters. So Justin Laxton and his gang, Overdrive Graphics, providing iRacing paint schemes, apparel designs including t-shirts, hats, driver uniforms, as well as the most cost-effective 2D and 3D motorsports renderings. For more information on what they do, Twitter at Overdrive GRFX. And then can't forget about John Downing, the Sim Posters gang, coming back on board. They were a sponsor in Season 1, a high-quality printing service that specializes in high-resolution prints from screenshots. That's one of the things that our leader, or rather our winner, I guess we'll say, when the end comes, an 18 by 24-inch poster by Sim Posters for John Downey in his game. And again, Overdrive Graphics offering up a paint scheme. You get a book. You get $5, which means we've seen these guys get aggressive before this year, Sean, going for a checkered flag, but they might have just a little bit more incentive. Throw in the fact that there's something that they're legitimately chasing for. Forget about the double points. That's going to really help them as well. You got a book, you got cash, you got paint schemes, and you got a poster, plus the fact that it's Indy. I feel like this race can get very fun if it's green on that white flag.
Oh yeah, definitely. You bet. But it's that start of the race, getting to the middle that you've really got to watch out for. I mean, let's face it, with no quick repair or any kind of reset here, any kind of contact with whether it be the wall or with another car could really end your race quick, and you're really going to have to watch out for that tonight, because that start, everybody's going to be double file. It's the only time they'll be double file all night. That can be a tricky proposition heading down into one when you're right there at about 210 miles an hour, heading into one side by side, and maybe even a couple of guys trying to go three wide. Going to have to watch out for that. You're going to have to take care of the car tonight. No doubt about that.
And the drivers are now gritting up on the front straightaway, about to cross the yard of bricks for our one pace lap. Race control on the radio let the drivers know one last time a final briefing on how this race is going to go. And let's give you the full field standings and the rundown for the grid for this evening's Indianapolis 250, presented in part by our sponsors at Overdrive Graphics and Sim Posters. Pole position, stealing it. How about that number 56 of Bradley Walters, 14th in practice. Jumps to the top of the board, 2/10 faster than anything he ran all day long with a 41.10. Going to be top of the pile in that number 56 machine. Second position in the 92 car of Chris Lanini will roll for the outside of row number 1. Justin Laxton in P3. That car with a 40.136, and then a handful of cars that tied down to the thousandths of a second. Fourth place, the number 1 of Jesse Vincent. Fifth to Matt Kingsbury in the 21. And rounding out the top 6 is the 5 of Rick Music.
Yeah, and then behind him in 7th place, we got Dan Guerin in the 06. Ray Kingsbury back there in 8th place in the number 52 machine. Look for Ray to make his way here to the front pretty quick. Likes the clean air. Jason Robarge in 9th. And Big Joe Hassard rounding out the top 10 in the number 11 machine. Big Joe looking pretty good in these practices, and I expect him to get up there towards the front.
You see the number 80 of Michael Chin get a roll from P11. 12 is the 69 car of Trevor Malone. That machine was the top 10 in practice. Look for him to try to get up forward. How about Jack Bogan, the number 20, going to be on the inside of row 7 in the unlucky or lucky, depending on how you look at it, 13th starting position. He'll be next to the 48 of Robert Bluen, who's going to be in 14th with a 40.195. And then rounding out the top 15 inside on our next row, the 25 car. That's Chris Sidelson.
And Corey Connor in 16th place. Corey, the number 2 machine, coming in 16th with a pretty fast time, but not good enough. 16th place. Vincent Blumenthal in number 72 in 17th. George Anzaldo starting in 18th today in the number 6 machine. Alfred Shepard starting 19th. And rounding out the top 20, Carl Burke in the 027.
The field goes down the very long Indianapolis Motor Speedway backstretch as we get set to let them go, as the pace car will get out of the way here once you round corner 4. The rest of the lineup, the last car to put down a time in the qualifier session, going to be P21 to 15 car of Chris Poole. Cars in on provisionals, the 777 of Austin Espity in the number 22 spot. Pierre Deigel, the 55 car, will roll from 23rd. Again, all these cars in without a qualifying time on provisionals. P24 to the 82, that's the John Downing entry. Peter Edwins was scheduled to start 25th. He's not on the racetrack. Leonardo Matos in 26th position. He is back and will obviously slot up a row, as Peter's not on the grid right now. He'll actually be on the outside, and then shotgun on the field in all of this, the 83 of Mark Nobert. Field rounds at a quarter number 4. We're glad to have you with us this evening on the Global Sim Racing Channel. Pace car down to the safety of pit road. Racing at the Brickyard, green flag flies as we come across the yard of bricks. Bradley Walters in control of this field at LionHeart IndyCar Series Brickyard 250, green down to quarter number 1.
Yeah, and the back of the field's making their way into one now. Everybody kind of spreading out nose to tail right now, trying to give a little bit of room here, getting into 2.
Everybody nice except for P3. That's the only side-by-side battle, at least down through 1 and 2. Now down the long back straightaway is where people are going to start to get some ideas and try to make some moves. Jesse Vincent scored P4 right now. How about the move to the outside? Matt Kingsbury squeezing that car in between the right side of Jesse Vincent's entry and the concrete wall. That short shoot that we talked about, very important. And we'll use those 12 degrees of banking on the high side. Drop down in front, and he will be clear. Now behind Jesse Vincent, more fighting going on. But how about the battle for the top spot? Making a move down into quarter one, timing it perfectly. The 53 of Justin Laxton. The Lax for MD entry, using that slingshot maneuver to be able to get around Bradley Walters. Walters had a challenge to the inside. That's not going to come anything of that. And those top two, at least for the moment, single file.
Yeah, Corey Connor almost found a little bit of trouble out there. He came on the radio shouting about something, but it saved it. And Robert Bluen talking back to him right now, but they kept it under control. Right now, I'm seeing 3 distinctive packs on the track, Evan, and they're all trying to make their way up to the leaders.
You talk about those leaders, another change for the top spot, and you can attribute that to, again, the very long straightaways. A whole lot of time to get a big run, step out of line, and make something work. They're cheating down on that white line on the inside. You see almost using what you could consider maybe a curb to some extent down in the corner. And now just as Justin Laxton had lost it to Bradley Walters on the front straightaway, he'll take it right back. And that car going to be clear once again to the top spot. Walters will slide into second. And if you're thinking about how the last 2 laps have gone, expect that number 56 car to try to come back at Justin this next time on the front straightaway. You see that advantage that the 53 goes down to the inside. What he's doing is trying to not ride up against the fence, try to take away that draft that those guys behind him are going to be fighting for. Now, nothing crazy out of the Walters camp that time by Sean. He just rode the outside. Kingsbury drafted off him. We get down to the end of the race. That's when you're going to see everybody start snaking down that straightaway, trying to get everything they can. So although they've swapped out the top spot about 3-4 times, still relatively calm inside of the top 5. Looks like first battle going to be for P7. Thought about it. Ray Kingsbury jumped up high. He'll duck back in line. That's with Rick Music.
Yeah, Evan, and I'm just kind of scanning around the field right now, and you know what? This is the type of race you want to get started with right here. If you're thinking about being in this thing at the very end, you want to kind of settle in and just start to run the track. It's you against the track. Okay to spread out. There's plenty of time to get something done here. Probably going to play a little bit different strategy than some of the other guys. So far, we're off to a really good start here. Again, I think you're thinking about the long run right now. These guys need to keep doing what they're doing and giving space out here. And so far, so good.
And normally when we go to these oval track races, we talk about how much more it is driver versus driver. First, when you're out there on the road course, it's a lot more about fighting the track. This track, almost a 50-50 split at least, because obviously you're fighting with a lot of guys around you. The battle right now is for P4, side by side, 2 rows deep, and shut the door. Bradley Walters comes up and makes sure there is no room on the outside for Jesse Vincent. Side by side behind them, that is still Rick Music and Ray Kingsbury fighting for it. But you really do have to go at this Indianapolis Motor Speedway and deal with the track equally as much as these other guys. We're talking about the draft that they get. You can get a huge run down the straightaways. Rick Music sitting way off, about 5 car lengths, and not even a huge run on Jesse Vincent. 230 miles an hour down into quarter number 3. You get up to somebody, try to snap at a line, that car can almost head right to the outside wall. You gotta be careful how aggressive you get, especially early on in this race. The top 2, though, are leaving. They're 9/10 to the good over everybody else. It's Justin Laxton and Matt Kingsbury fighting at it again. It was Bradley Walters up there who started on pole. The USAA machine has slid back now 1 second. He rides before.
Hey, Jack Bogan back there in the iRace for Gage machine got overtaken there by Corey Connor back about a half a lap ago there. And that was for 13th and 14th position. And now Jack is trying to fend off the charge from Krista Nelson. And I believe that's Michael Chin right behind her. I'm sorry, that's Austin Espity, who is now right on the... Oh, and Espity gets a piece of Krista Nelson's corner. The yellow flag is out, Evan.
And the Krista Nelson entry is smoking at a corner 4. The replay already up after Austin Espity tried to make the inside work, and right there, contact That sent the Krista machine, that's the number 25. Her car got sideways. They made contact, and she went hard into the outside wall. Austin lucked out the fact that he still has damage, but he did not get hard into the outside retaining wall. Not the note for the Nelson entry because she hit that wall pretty hard, Sean. She lost the entire front nose of it. Got hit by another car coming through. Thankfully for that machine, maybe the net code in their favor, and they didn't pick up severe damage, I don't think. But the car that clobbered her was the Robert Bluin entry. He appears to be fairly okay, all things considered, but a tough break for Krista Nelson running inside of the top 15. It appears that she will be out of this race very early. That car is now down into the stall. However, heavy black smoke pouring out from it. She's not hopping out quite yet, but they'll take a look at it and see what they can do.
Yeah, well, that was really a tough break. I feel bad. I feel like I put the commentator's jinx on her there as we were talking about her making that move. But, yeah, just a tough place to try and make a move on somebody there in that turn. But, you know, they were close, and anything could have happened. There could have been a little bit of net code involved there. But that's certainly a bad break. Chris is going to have to overcome a lot of damage there if she's even going to be able to get back into this race tonight, Evan.
The first car down to the pit lane is going to be the number 06 of Dan Gare, and that is the number 06 car that was running in P9. A couple of other cars from there on back going to come down. Our leader started to make that move, and then our leader jumped out, and not electing to pit was Justin Laxton. Thought that some of the people behind him may have wanted to make a move and maybe throw a little bit of early pit strategy into this, but again, you got to look at that incident. There was a car length between Nelson and the curbing. The question is it too early to make that move? And Austin obviously sliding high by the time he get off the corner. Looks like the car may have jolted to the right just the slightest bit, getting tight when he tried to stuff that car to the inside. They made contact. Could have easily been, again, a multi-car incident because there was quite a few people behind them. So if any positive in it is that it is limited to 2 cars, and Nelson still being scored on the lead lap right now. However, that car remains down in the pit lane, and she has exited that car. So they have taken a look at it, and it does appear that the night is going to be a short finish for the 25 of Krista Nelson. After picking up 7 spots from practice to qualifying, appears that will finish 26th and last out of the 26 cars that started this race. So far, nobody else has fallen off of the lead lap. Espeti's still out there. Again, he is going to have to work with that damage. Talked about how not quick fix is not going to be an option. Looks like they got that thing pretty well cleared up, though. Down there in the pit lane, maybe put a little new piece of carbon fiber on that 777 entry. He's back out there and not looking all that bad, all things considered, so it looks like he'll still be able to be relatively competitive. However, he will be back P20.
Yeah, and P20 is going to be a tough place to come from when you're talking about a single-file restart here, Evan. These cars will spread out quick with a single-file restart. Now, when they hit that backstretch, obviously anything goes, but again, when you're dealing with a single-file restart here, 20th is going to be a hard spot to come back from when the leaders are coming across the line and you're still coming out of turn 3.
And there is that single file restart that gets everybody spread out, at least inside of the top 5. That little bit of accordion effect that you see 5th on back is where things get excited. Once we cycle out of 2, Jesse Vincent as a tailgater. Rick Music really pushing that car to the inside, and you see they are very quickly approaching a Bradley Walters car down to the bottom. Vincent going to make the first move. Rick Music has the run that he could go to the inside, but maybe a little bit too early for 3 wide, so he'll follow that number 1 car through. They will both get clear of Bradley Walters, the car that thought about it. Ray Kingsbury has had a couple of opportunities in this race, Sean. We've seen him looking to the outside on Rick quite a few times. Look to the inside there on Bradley Walters. However, has not made the move. That car is being relatively, conservative in the early stages. The top 2 now have found each other out of 4. They fight for it. Kingsbury at the stripe, Laxton right back at him to the inside and clearing 2.
Yeah, checking out Espeti. We were talking about him. He has managed to pick up 5 positions already here in just a lap and a half, basically. He is, I think the car is fine. He's moving just fine through this field right now, Evan. I think any early worries we had about him being competitive here, I think, we put those to bed right now.
And that means that a quarter century, 25 cars still on the lead lap, still in this. Out of the 26 that started, only retiree so far is Krista Nelson, who got turned in quarter number 4. That has also brought us their only caution flag so far, working lap 12 of 100 from the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, our Triple Crown event, double points prizes, and so much more. Plus the fact that you could say you won at the Brickyard is on the line tonight. And you see that constant strategy that we saw our leader do on the first run. Now that it's Justin Laxton to the inside, Sean, trying to break that draft. Kingsbury biting on a little bit to the point where he went down to the grass trying to get that little bit of a draft. You can get some space like you see right now, a couple of car lengths. If you get a really good pass, you can pull away and maybe avoid them for a whole corner at best, maybe a lap if you're lucky. But eventually, those guys behind you are going to catch you if you're your race leader, because you'll see these spots back where maybe the top three will pull away from fourth on back because the top three are drafting off each other. There's no way that, in theory, our leader can leave everybody else because he's doing max speed, which, fair enough, is about 225 miles an hour. The guys behind them, though, 230 plus in the draft. It's just so very hard to get that separation.
Yeah, it is. And, as you look through the field here and you look at the little individual battles that are going on, you have to start thinking about these guys that did not pit right here, because our fuel window under green flag conditions is about 20 to 22 laps. So here we are now 13 laps into this thing and coming around to 14. You've got to start to wonder here, all right, when are these guys going to win? And if it does stay green, there are going to be positions to be had here by some of these guys that are a little bit further back that did take those pits.
Yeah, those guys have already come down for service, so they may be at a little bit of an advantage. They could even cut this into a 3-stop race, 4-stop race, depending on how it all shakes out. We got shuffling going on up at the front, and it was very interesting. Not the first time tonight, as Matt Kingsbury takes the lead down in 3. We watch this lead pack single file. 8 rows deep is this lead group. Then they're about 2.4 seconds clear to that secondary pack that's kind of scattered. 2.4 seconds on back with 9th Jason Robards, Trevor Malone and company. But Matt Kingsbury tried the outside. It didn't work, got the inside, was able to make the pass. Now Justin Laxton trying the exact same thing. Goes high down into 1 and tries the high side coming out of 2. He'll get that positioning, but you kind of got to give that guy on the inside a little bit of a pinch if you want to make that pass. Something that I would not suggest doing 15 laps in to a 100-lap event. And you see Kingsbury down on the bottom, slides up, and right there, very close at 220 miles an hour. Can't afford much contact at a situation like that, but great racing for the lead since the drop of the green flag. They continue to be side pod to side pod. I was going to say door to door, but I mean, you climb into these things, so we're side by side down to 1.
Yeah, and Laxton, just as cool as the other side of the pillow right there, doesn't get too nervous there, saves the car, and is able to stay out of trouble. Having a great race so far. But hey, man, watch out for Rick Music. I don't think there's anybody out here that wants this race as bad as Rick Music does. Look for him to make a move here pretty soon, because I know he wants that clean air and wants to put in some lead laps on the lead here at Indy, one of his favorite tracks.
We saw right behind our leaders, Chris Lanini was getting a little bit anxious after starting in second. He was able to slide up to what's going to be P4 right now. The top 3 all stagger down the front straightaway, playing those aero games. You talk about hungry drivers again. Justin Laxton, who sits in the top position, talked about him before we even saw that he qualified in P3, before we even saw how strong he's run these first 17 laps. The highest driver in the championship standings without a trip to victory lane. He would like to change that tonight, and he may be able to help himself out by the fact that he's offered up a paint scheme to the winner tonight. He might be able to just take some time and give himself a new wrap if he wants. That's the laps for MT entry up at the front of the field. It's very interesting because we've seen Matt Kingsbury try the high side, not really work, go to the inside, it works flawlessly. Laxton had to work at it, but give him a lap and a half, and he was able to make that outside work to be able to make the pass on that 21 car and go to the top position right now. A couple of people were real back here, about 24th and 25th. An update on the people that are at the back of the lead lap. That's Leandro Matos, John Downing, Robert Blow, and Mark Nobert. These guys are kind of in their own pack of 4 cars, 22nd through 25th, 9.4 seconds back. Not going to be a competitive situation unless we get a yellow, which it is the Brickyard. It's not the easiest place to go a very long distance without a caution when you're looking at how many guys here are trying to fight for this checkered flag. But it's something that you had alluded to, and I want to talk a little bit more about it, Sean, is that these single file restarts on the first time we head down to corner 1 on the drop of the green flag, we're side by side, but we kind of want to be single file. A lot of the guys try to get single file before they even hit that corner. The draft is pretty much one of the major deciding factors, if not the most important, when you go to these oval tracks, and Indy with these long straightaways only emphasizes that even more. It is hard and we talked about it when we were talking about what kind of competitive fight Austin Espety could put up. He's already back up to 12th. It is very difficult to be back in the pack, continue to pass cars, and then not lose touch of our leaders, because that happens very quickly. Espety's passed 8 cars. He's still 3.1 seconds back, though.
Yeah, he is. Which is an eternity here. But hey, he did do the work he needed to do to get back up there. I mean, he did qualify 22nd and then had to come, from 20th. So good job by Espety right now. It was funny you were talking about Mark Norbert there a moment ago. Mark Norbert and Robert Bluen were having a spirited battle out there. He got Norbert is in the wall. Norbert is in the fence.
Mark Norbert, contact with the outside retaining wall, just as you talked about him again. Sean, that's 2 for 2. The Castrol entry is into the wall coming out of corner 1. We talked about how tight that car gets when you're sucking the air off the guy in front of you. He caught the fence, did not go around, ended up spinning into the grass off of the racing surface, and has taken the escape route, literally. Will take a tow to pit road, gonna have to wait at least 5 minutes or so for the virtual tow truck to allow that team to take a look at the car, but that is not good news for the Mark Norbert team.
No, it's not. Tough break for Mark, and man, I am sorry. Did it again. Mark Norbert there was, like I said, having a really spirited battle there with Robert Bluen. They never made any contact or anything. I think, as you said, I think Mark just, the push was real, and he got that fence and did some pretty good damage to the car. He is going to definitely need some repair on that machine, and I just don't know if it's going to be enough to put that thing back at full power.
And these drivers are enjoying this brief chance they have to catch their breath as everybody inside of this lead pack is single file for the moment. We talk about how important the draft is. One thing that is really highlighted in closed qualifier 2-lap solo sessions is how smooth you are. Justin Laxton doing that beautifully, going to the inside to cut the draft, sweeps high right before he dimes it into the corner, perfect apex back out. Because he's so smooth, he's having a little bit of a trouble for Matt Kingsbury in that 21 car to get up to him. He's kind of been stranded 0.2 of a second back. Beautiful driving by everybody inside of this lead group that has fallen to 7 cars deep. You got Laxton, Kingsbury, Music, Lanini, Vincent, Walters, and Kingsbury, 1st through 7th, within 1.8 seconds of each other. 8th on back is 2.5 plus with Joe Hazard, Jason Robarge in 9th, 10th position to Trevor Malone, 3.3 seconds back. And we talked about everybody else cycling through, but still 24 cars on the lead lap. Only cars that are off the lead lap, one of them behind the wall now officially out of it. They pushed the Kristen Elshin, number 25 car behind the wall, back down Gasoline Alley. They are officially done. Norbert still sitting in that Castrol Edge machine. The team is yet able to take a look at it as they're still waiting on the tow. So far, 2 laps off pace.
Taking a look at Jack Bogan here for a second. Jack, so far, so good. 13th place. Trying to hold off the very fast Michael Chin. Michael doesn't have much for him yet, but they are about to head down the backstretch here in just a moment. And when they do, I expect Michael Chin to get to his rear deck there pretty quick. But Jack having a pretty good run right now, sitting there in 13th place. And got about a second between him and Corey Connor to get up to that next pack there, fighting for the top 10.
And this is the first time, again, that we have seen things, quote-unquote, calm throughout this race. A good bit of single file, because we talk about this race, how the start, obviously, a lot of anticipation. The end, obviously, a lot of it as well. But it's the middle portions of the race, these long green flag stretches. We're going to be quarter distance the next time Justin Laxton rounds by the Yard of Bricks as they go down the back straightaway right now, cutting that 18-hole golf course in half right now, half on the infield, half on the exterior of the racetrack. But it's these middle portions of the race here that often get overlooked. The consistency that you need. These are spots where you can talk about a guy and then, Sean will go back at him. By the time we get to the end next thing, they gained a lot of spots. It's by being consistent, Evan, being smooth, and working in this middle portion.
I don't want to break your speed there, but here we go. The pit stops are happening. Big Joe was the first to lead him in. George Enzabo following right behind him. Justin Laxton still up there leading this thing. Probably going to think about coming in any second here. This is what we thought. We had that yellow flag. Those guys stayed out. Here we are. Lap 26 going to 27, and they're coming in.
And this is with the assistance of a yellow, but this is quarter distance. So if they can make this same fuel mileage every stint, you can make it a 3-stop race as Joe leaves.
And here comes Laxton. bringing it in. Can he keep it under speed there? Nice entry for Laxton and Kingsbury.
Yeah, Ray Kingsbury coming in, so Matt Kingsbury will take over the top spot. Rick Music, Chris Lanini, Jesse Vincent, Bradley Walters, Espity, and many more have yet to come down. But you got Jason Robarge down on the pit lane in the Drive to End Hunger Rainbow Warriors themed machine. He comes into his stall. Ray Kingsbury is there. We talked about Justin Laxton in. Looks like Alfred Shepard is in. Chris Poole as well. 5 cars on the pit lane this time by. Matt Kingsbury, however, still elects to stay out on track. That number 21 car sits on point, and now he's going to elect to come down pit lane as he gets set to come down and gets it down to pit lane speed of 60 miles an hour before the cones. No issue there. Good entry.
And Rick Music has no friends, but he is going to lead a lap. And Rick's Music is your leader, and that's where he wanted to be. He gets that bonus point for leading a lap, and I would think Rick is probably going to have to bring it in right about here. He might have another lap left in him, but he has no friends.
And he's out there working lap number 28. You see pretty much all alone in front of him is Jason Robarge, who has already completed service. So Rick's going to have to come down pretty soon, and here he is. Dives to the inside. He's got to get it rolled way up. Aggressive entry. Beautiful. Down to 60 miles an hour at the cones. Bonus point will never hurt anybody. When it's a double points night, it'll hurt even less. But now this lead is going to cycle back around. Looks like Michael Chin has yet to pit as well. That's the number 80 car who started this race. P11 may have been one of the drivers that we saw elect to come down pit road earlier in this race. Again, on that one caution flag, he did. So he has the ability to go a little bit longer than those guys that have been up front all race because they have yet to see the pit lane before this.
Yeah, he's still got probably about 6 to 8 laps somewhere in there ahead of him. So, but hey, he gets his points for leading too, and not a bad move. And, another big mover there, another guy who pitted, Pierre Deigel, up to second, started in 23rd. There he is now in second place, to almost 2.5 seconds off of Michael Chin, but still up there and with a chance to keep that car up front. If we get a caution flag, everything resets.
And take a look as everybody starts to cycle back out. Justin Laxton, that car just now exiting at a corner number 4 down the front straightaway. Guess who's in front of him? Matt Kingsbury is, and that's the way that this appears to be cycling out at the moment. And again, scoring going to continue to cycle through at the stripe. To note that Michael Chin has yet to come down pit road, so he's still well up there. He's got company also. Pierre Deigel, Dan Guerin, looks like Carl Burke, Robert Blowen, and maybe John Downing. Those may have been all of the cars right there in that pack that have not pitted, or rather did pit on that first caution flag, therefore can go a little bit longer and have yet to pit on this one. Leandro Matos as well in P7, but 8th on back of the cars that have pitted, 28.6 seconds off of the top spot. Matt Kingsbury is in front of now Rick Music and Justin Laxton, so that machine, via staying out and being a little bit staggered compared to those guys with him, has been able to gain an advantage, and he's 2 car lengths to the good over what would become the lead depending on how this cycles out. Scored P8 right now, and now a couple of these guys that have got to come down. Looks like Pierre Deigel's in from second spot, Carl Burke down as well.
Yeah, and back here riding with George Anzalo, he was one of the first to go in on that cycle of pit stops there. He sits in 20th place, 40 seconds. You would think it's some of these guys, just to get a perspective here, a lot of these guys who went in on this last cycle, this green flag cycle, these guys that stayed out, when they go in, these guys will cycle up and be sitting pretty again. We've got cars all over this track right now. Great conditions for good racing and a nice green flag run. Who knows? We may just get to the next pit stop here. Have to see how it goes. But right now, George Anzalo has nothing to lose as he's 40 seconds off the leader, and he still has plenty of time to get it done today.
The question is, what is Michael Chin going to accomplish from this staying out strategy? We talked about how, with the assistance of a yellow, which allows these guys, if they ride in a high gear, can use less fuel than if they're going around in first or second, whatever they may choose. Ride around here in 6th gear can save a lot of fuel. The guys that did not pitch on, they came down right past that quarter distance mark at lap 25, at lap 26. they would really need to stretch their next 3 fuel runs and get everything they can out of 2 more stops to make it to the end. Now, Michael Chin, to be fair, he has already pitted in this, so it technically would be a 4-stop strategy as Dan Guerin comes in from a top 5 spot. He now comes down for the second time tonight. But these drivers from this point on only have to make 3 more stops. Everybody else trying to squeeze it out on 2. This could work if they get a long green flag stretch, and I'm talking almost all the way to the end, and the fact that they're banking on everybody else not being able to stretch their fuel to pretty much a quarter on every tank.
Yeah, and here these guys are coming. Chin's still out there, but everybody, they're starting to cycle around now.
Downing's in now too.
Yeah, Downing's in as well.
So the Sim Posters 82 comes in from second. That 80 car, though, again, yeah, he doesn't look like he's coming down anytime soon. They're on the same strategy, so again, you can stretch it as much as you want. All of this is pretty much just insurance here, but you have to think that 80 is going to be coming down soon, and then it will be that P8 that we were talking about, which was in favor of Matt Kingsbury. Now at 6th, he's still fighting with Rick Music. Next thing you know, they're up to 3rd. We wait on Chin and Blowen to come down pit road, and then everything else will get a cycle through, and now here comes Michael Chin.
Ooh, he almost looked a little hot across the line. He had a really nice run going there. The car was looking good.
Again, you got to get that thing woed way up, and the brakes on these are very nice if you want to track some, you want to talk about the statistics and what these cars have that make them tick. But 218 miles an hour down to 60 is no easy task, and you can very easily lock it up and find yourself in trouble with a rather narrow pit road entrance with both the exterior pit road wall and then that inside retaining wall as well, kind of jetting out at you a little bit. Not the easiest one in racing for sure. Chin now exits the pit lane. He's got to go all the way around that access road down on the inside. You see the grass area there, down through 1 and 2. But on board now with new race leader Rick Music. He was trailing Matt Kingsbury, and again, it was a fight for P8. Now that everything cycles through, translates once again to a fight for the top spot in the 5 car. Scoring will cycle through, and it's going to update this time by the start-finish line. Just now 36 laps will be in the books. The 5 car, though, going to be in control after starting P6. Shout out as well to Joe Hassert, who was 11th in practice, 10th in qualifying. He's a top 5 car right now. He'll slide up and take that spot as they go across the stripe as well to P4. Great run so far for that entry.
Man, keep your eyes on Rick Music, because this is right very well where he might end tonight, is right here on point, because he gets better every lap throughout the run, hits his marks, really, really nice in and nice off, and very, very smooth. Rick knows his way around this track, and when he gets into clean air, man, he is hard to pass, as we see Matt Kingsbury trying to make a move to the inside. Will he be able to make it stick? I think Rick's going to let him go, and Matt Kingsbury gets him. But don't be surprised if we see Rick here try to get alongside of him on the backstretch, Evan.
Yeah, it looked like you saw Rick there take the left hand off the steering wheel, wave on by Matt Kingsbury because he moved a little bit to the right to allow him the space into the corner. Same thing going to happen this time down into 3. However, it's going to be a role reversal because now Rick Music back to the inside, something that we saw in the very start of the race, something that we saw right off of our first and only caution flag restart, is that your leaders, if they can stick with each other, that's the key. When we got spread out here before the cycle stops, Matt was having trouble catching up to Justin Laxton, who was leading, who's now third, 1 second back. That was about a 0.3 of a second gap. He couldn't get to him because Justin Laxton was just so smooth. If our leaders can stay within 1/10, 2/10 of each other, very easily can they continue to just swap out P1 and P2, making constant quote-unquote slingshot moves to the inside. I'm surprised, though, that Laxton, that 53 car, may have taken maybe a conservative entry shot onto the pit lane, maybe a little bit slower getting off. There is a lot of time to gain and lose at this racetrack. You'll go to some of the other ovals, straight into pit road, straight off. You just got to ride the apron. Here, you got to dive it down, long pit road to maintain and keep it up at 60. Then you got to go all the way around that access road down on the inside of 1 and 2, which is flat. So there's a lot of drivers that'll take that at different speeds. And it looks like overall the 53 lost significant time, and that's what has him from the top of the pile back to third, 1.1 seconds back. He's a second essentially off the top spot, but he's 1.5 good behind him, so he has no help right now to catch anybody. He's kind of stranded.
Yeah, he is, but you know what? All he needs to do is just just stay focused, keep running the same line he's been running since the green flag drop. He's going to be fine. Just be patient. He's got, at this point, he's the top 3, looking good. Back here checking in on Dan Guerin. He's in 14th place. He's got George Ansaldo trying to catch him in 15th. Pierre Deigel just ahead of those guys by 3 seconds. All trying to get up there to that pack in front of them that are fighting for the 11th, 10th, and 9th spots there. All having a pretty good battle there. Ray Kingsbury back to Corey Connor. Jason Robar's right there in the middle, trying to make a move on Ray Kingsbury here, heading into the turn.
And although we are spread out, battles again go on all around this racetrack. You're running lap times pretty much right at 40 seconds from the start of a run to the end of a run. Well, the glass car in the lead lap is 29 seconds off of the top spot, or just about 10 seconds to the good. That is Vincent Bluthenthal right now that has scored in P22. The number 72 car's back there. He's got company a couple seconds in front of him with the likes like Leandro Matos, Chris Poole, and whatnot. But Bluthenthal sitting with no help at the moment. Our leaders continue to work together, and I'd rather be in within striking distance of each other to the point that they continue to draft. You take a look at the top 2 right now, cycling through 4. They continue to draft. To put it in perspective, Bluthenthal with no help, he's running at 41.4s. Race leaders, 40.06s, and very fast lap times for those top 2. So if they continue to be able to knock off times like that, those guys that we were talking about that were 9 seconds back, Sean, very quickly again translated to being 20 seconds off, 30 seconds off. This green flag stretch continues maybe all the way through to another cycle of stops. They'll be off of the lead lap, and unless they stay out, they'll be stranded down there.
Well, I just noticed something. I noticed that Jack Bogan somehow had gotten away from us. We must have missed it, but he is out of the race right now on the pit lane. Heavy damage. He smacked it coming out of 2, made a little bit of contact with the car in front of him, and didn't bring out a yellow flag, and we missed it. But Jack is sitting there with heavy damage right now. Went out on lap 31, and now he's sitting there on pit lane, and that car's broken. I don't think it's going to make it back tonight. Tough break for Jack Bogan. I know he was looking for a great finish tonight.
And that was Alfred E. Shepard that he got into. Alfred made a move that we saw Austin Espity do when he was on the inside of Kristen Elsa. Alfred made that move when trying to sneak by on the outside was Jack Bogan, and that small moving up the racetrack. Jack couldn't turn that car enough, caught the outside wall hard, did a couple of barrel rolls down there, but again, because it was off the racing surface, that'll make it 2 pretty severe incidents that we've seen. I mean, both of these last ones are up there with the likes of the incident at a 4 that actually brought out our first, and so far, only caution on the evening for Kristen Nelson. But the big thing is here, and at this track, a lot of space as opposed to some others, but it is that if that incident is not on the immediate racing surface, no problem. You see the white line all the way around the racetrack. If it's below that, caution flag will most likely not be triggered by the sim unless there is a car around or stopped in the quote-unquote racing groove. So that's why, although there have been 2 incidents, the iRacing automatic caution system has not thrown anything, and we do remain green flag racing. Just about 6 laps now shy this time by the start-finish line. 5 laps to go to the halfway point in this 100-lap event. And again, that also means not too far away. You're at about 10 laps or so from another cycle of pit road stops.
Yeah, and I just kind of admire. I know it's easy to talk about, but Rick Music, we've seen him do this before. Get up to the front of the field and just not let off the neck of the opponent. Man, he's just throttling it right now, loving his view out of the front there. And Matt Kingsbury doing all he can to catch him, but also doing all they can to take care of the car because, well, like you said here, within 10 laps. They're going to need 4 fresh tires, and they're going to need that fuel to get to the next stop, which could be that last stop of the race, Evan.
Rick Music continues to lead over Matt Kingsbury. You wonder why these cars are only able to go on paper 20 to 22 laps, and they've only been able to go. We saw most of our stops. I think the bulk of them were within 20 to 25 rather than 30. Those guys that had pitted earlier on about 10 laps in. Subsequently, so were able to go about 35. That is because of the fuel cap limit. It is at a 60% fuel cell, so they're not running 100% of that tank that they can, can only fill it up to 60% capacity, which means that the cars are going to be lighter throughout a run, which is something that doesn't get talked about a lot, and maybe it not even get used a lot, but it is something that a lot of drivers try to play. Not really in this race, unless we get some yellows that put us in a situation we can do so, Sean, but is on those final stops, take less fuel, the car's going to be lighter, it's going to be a little bit faster. That may be that little bit that you need to get all the way to the end. We're running 60% fuel cells. That does explain, if anybody was wondering, these little bit of a shorter fuel stints, but around this 2.5 mile oval, rectangle, whatever you want to call it, that's a pretty long distance as well when you're all the way on the throttle, all the way around as well. So you burn fuel pretty quickly when you're not letting off.
Yeah, you really do, and it's a pretty. Let's face it, when you're clicking off these green flag laps like this, it is a pretty quick fuel window to have to hit. But it's a lot of fun seeing these guys strategize with each other too. I think that is really one of the exciting things about getting these green flag runs, is seeing how everybody tries and plays their strategy here. Back here, we're riding with Trevor Malone right now. He's just kind of opening it up on Red Kingsbury now. Kingsbury was getting to him, but I'm starting to think maybe Gray is having those tires fall off a bit. He's having to arc off those turns just a bit, not going quite as hard as he once was, and he's looking out the mirror at Jason Robards trying to get to him. So exciting stuff going on here back of the field, guys, trying to get to these guys here in the top 5, but they've still got a ways to go.
There's only about a straightaway on this racetrack that's not occupied by some race cars. When our leaders are at a 2, the back of the pack is going into quarter number 3. How about the Austin Espity entry? We've talked about him, albeit he's lost 1.7 seconds from the last time we really focused on him, Sean, but that's not the thing we're talking about. He cut the deficit to the top spot in half. Went from
Big Joe is
20th on a
in.
restart to 12th. Now he is up to 6th, and you heard it there. Big Joe Hassert over the radio. He's coming in, again, right at the halfway point.
Yep, I think this is falling into Joe's lap. He has this timed well right now. He's on pace. I'm sure he's following a plan, and it looks like the plan was to come right in there at 51.
Makes the math a lot easier on the guys on top of the pit box and on the spotter stand to cut this race into quarters and make 3 stops, as so far what we have seen and what it appears the race will be and everybody's shooting for is 25, 50, 75, and all 4 of your runs going to be pretty much equidistant. Rick Music has yet to come down pit road. He's in front of Matt Kingsbury. Justin Laxton, who came down the last time as the leader, is now running in 3rd. He comes down pit road this time for this 2nd trip down for service this evening, so he'll give up that top 3 position. Other cars going to come in behind him as our leaders now on the lead lap. These cars that are again on one of our, we'll call this the primary cycle of stops. Everybody else, we had a couple of guys that pitted earlier. They're on a little bit of a different strategy right now, but the primary group of cars starting to now have to come back down pit road, just now past the halfway point. We're halfway home in the downhill side of things from Indy.
What a race, Evan. What a race. Halfway home. Kingsbury's in. We're halfway home. Hey, man, we right now still have, they're cycling through pit stops, but we still have like 21, 22 cars in the lead lap. Really, really exciting stuff tonight here in the LionHeart Racing Series. This is a great one to be at. Now, they're going to come out of these pit stops and going to spread out even more. Going to have to work through a lot of traffic here, so focus is going to be at an all-time high right now as we enter the later stages of this race, Evan.
And although we do start to cycle through, you'll see a couple of cars starting to blend out there. There may be some battles with cars that are laps down, because if you're not right with our race leader, you pit, you will lose that lead lap status, which could make a caution in the middle of this quite devastating. Austin Espity is going to peak at P3. Now he comes down pit road. Rick Music up in the top spot. Bradley Walters still trailing him by 3.6 seconds. They have yet to enter. Then we'll find that 80 Michael Chin, who we do anticipate in the Marlboro machine, to cycle back up to the top spot. But the way the strategy is working right now, Sean, and you think that if they wouldn't be able to make it 25 laps on the tank, they wouldn't all be pitting right at 50, especially if you're a guy like Joe Hassard. Rick Music, again, the longer he goes, the better, because he doesn't need to really stretch that fuel as long as possible. He comes in now, he'll have to go about 45 laps instead of 50 on the next 2 tanks, so it looks like if he's able to make it, then that strategy call that we thought could be the game changer for those guys that pitted at lap 10, they would not really have to worry because they'd have 10 laps of insurance on their fuel. The guys like Michael Chin, who's now to the top spot because both Rick and Bradley Walters are down the pit lane. The way it's looking right now, if everybody can make it on the regular strategy, these guys making this gamble a little bit early on, which, hey, why not? Why not come in at lap 10? Don't think it's necessarily going to pay out. We'll have to see. The 80 car now returns to the point on that different cycle.
Yeah, Michael Chin having a good night. That car is competitive. Was surprised to see him show up. He hasn't run a whole lot of events this year, but nice to see him here. Traditionally fast driver, and certainly showing the way here in a couple of different spots tonight. But Rick Music back to lead. Okay. Yeah, and we're back to Rick Music right now, who is battling right now down here with Matt Kingsbury.
And Kingsbury just in front of him. Last time by scored 10th, Music scored 5th. But again, once the scoring updates, this time by the stripe as we follow them to the inside goes Rick Music. Very similar to how we saw it last time. It was a battle for 8th. It's going to be the exact same. A battle for 8th that will translate to be a battle for the top spot once all of this cycles back through once again. Pierre Deigel scored 7th. He's now exiting pit road. Carl Burke has scored 6th. He is now exiting pit lane as well. Leandro Matos is yet to come in, I do believe, in that 79 car, so he still awaits service. 4th place, John Downing staying out. 3rd is Robert Blow, and he's staying out. Dan Guerin staying out, and Michael Chin staying out. So right now, as they run the top 5 cars on track on a secondary strategy to try to get themselves off pace with our leaders and try to get something going, anything after they were trapped outside of really the top 20 when they started this whole strategy on that first yellow, trying to do whatever they can to try to get that track position that is so key. And again, although we continue under green, and we're saying that that battle between Rick Music and Matt Kingsbury is for the lead, and if it all cycles through under green, it will be. Again, there's always a chance of a caution happening in the middle of these cycles, pit stops, guys blending back out onto the racetrack a little bit faster than some others when they're out there with fresh tires, guys starting to come way up on each other. The closing rate is at its peak right off of a pit stop. Very easily, people can get stuck laps down because right now 17 cars on the lead lap. Look at all the guys one lap down. George Anzaldo, Carl Burke, Alfred Shepard, Chris Poole, Vincent Bluthenthal. They'll go back up to the lead lap once these cars that have yet to pit cycle down through pit road. But if a caution again comes out during these cycles, which because there's 2 different pit strategies, Sean, it's not a very small condensed 5 lap, everybody pits, we're good. These things stretch out now 10, 15 laps apart through. A caution at any point in this could really trap a lot of these guys in a tough spot.
Yeah, and Dan Guerin's making his way in, so these guys it's their turn now. Looks like Chin's going to still stay out there, but these guys behind him are now starting to make their move to the pits. So this will start to cycle out. Guys like Pierre Deigel, George Gonzalo, and Carl Burke, Alfred Shepard, they'll all start to get their lap back and get back on pace with everybody else.
Looks like Robert Blowen's announcing that that car is going to be coming down pit road. According to the people watching live right now, Leandro Matos has a lot of fans out there. That number 79 car is scored P5 right now, and he's been over the radio as he's in that short chute between 3 and 4. He will be bringing it down pit lane. This time by the 48 is already in. Looks like John Downing is going to come in from 3rd. Dan Guerin just now leaving from what was 4th. And Leandro Matos coming in from 5th, which leaves the only car yet to make that call is the guy that sits atop the pile, Michael Chin. Over last time we saw everybody else hop down. He came in the lap or 2 after. There he is. The 80 car will give up the lead. He comes down pit road for what's going to be the second to final time tonight for the 80 camp.
And here we go. Rick Music making a move to the inside of Kingsbury as they head into 3. And he pulls it off. And, yeah, here we go. As they come out of 4, heading down the front stretch, it's going to be a battle between Rick Music and Matt Kingsbury. Is Kingsbury going to try and take him here? Let's see. Here we go. Into 1. Kingsbury decides to stay in line. So they've spent the last 3 or 4 laps fighting back and forth here to get back to the front as we see Rick Music now become your new leader of the race. And, I don't think the fighting is over yet, but as we've seen with Music, he can get out there and keep the distance. So we'll see here. Looks like Kingsbury getting back to the rear deck again there, but not just not enough speed to get around him right now. Looks like another successful lap for Rick Music of holding off Matt Kingsbury.
Michael Chin now uses the access road. He is back on track and side by side down the front straightaway. To the lead goes the 21, Matt Kingsbury. To the point, Rick Music to second, and I can guarantee you they'll be side by side within the next 1 or 2 laps going at it again. As we watch this battle, look right behind him, that red car, again, that same gap that we saw after the first cycle of green flag pit stops. Justin Laxton led at that point, and now 2 cycles later, continues to sit at the deficit that really he gave up on that first stop alone. Did a very good job going toe-to-toe with Rick Music and Matt Kingsbury as far as pit time, from getting down from pace speed back up to race speed. However, was unable to account for that 1 second that he lost and continues to lose time now, 1.45 seconds off of the top spot. Rick Music led it at the stripe, and now Matt Kingsbury back to the point. The top 2 continue to duke it out. We are past halfway and inside 40 laps to go at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Music to the inside once again. We're working under 1 yellow so far. It was early. It has been clean and green since, and we'll take a quick caution of our own. The green flag racing continues. We hope to return to that. We'll let you know anything as we miss, as we'll step away for a quick commercial break, off the mics for a moment. You're watching the LionHeart IndyCar Series on the Global Sim Racing channel, the Indianapolis 250. Starting to get down to crunch time. Picking up the pace car on the back is the latest radio transmission. You saw it there under the commercial break. Caution flag is out at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway in round 11 of the 2015 Season 2 racing campaign for the LionHeart IndyCar Series on the Global Sim Racing Channel. Evan Pasoko, Sean Ambrose up at the broadcast booth. I'm Jed Yaman down in the production hall are getting us on air. We went a long time without a caution flag, pretty much 60 laps or so since one that we saw early on, and well, that was it. Chris Poole brings out this, and it was very similar to an incident that we had seen earlier on in this race. A single car incident down in quarter number 1 sent that number 15 car into the outside retaining wall. He came to a stop before he was able to get off the track, and that is why the yellow is out. Leaders coming down pit road, in theory, 5 laps short of what they can make it on fuel. An interesting call, but it looks like all of them are in agreement. Everybody packs the pit lane.
Yes, they do, and man, it's going to be close at this point. I just don't know if you're going to be able to make it on fuel. These guys are going to have to hope for another caution, or everybody's going to be in for a splash and dash, Evan.
And they may be able to hope on a caution, because when we get everybody grouped back up with very biddable laps to go, it is a possibility. Kingsbury leads us down. He leads us back off at the pit lane. Cars that stayed out. Leandro Matos, that's a lead lap car that stayed out. Vincent Blumenthal stays out. That's a lapper. John Downing is a lead lap car. He stays out. So the 82 of John Downing from 8th and a 79 of Leandro Matos from 11th. 2 cars on the lead lap will stay out, and they will be in front of Matt Kingsbury and company, who now exit the pit lane. But again, officially on paper, according to the information we were given, 20 to 22 laps. It looks like they've been able to cut this into quarters at 25. Can you go, though, 30? And to be fair, they are going to have, and this helps them out quite a bit, Sean, is that the caution flag, again, really just got started, and at least 2 more circuits around are going to be under caution flag conditions. So you could almost save 50% of what a lap would be of fuel if you ride around there in 6th gear, which is good, but they need more than 1, I think, at least, if they want to be able to make it to the end. Very interesting to see these guys that say, there's no way Matos or Downing are going to make it. They need to come back down pit road. They're banking on that everybody else is going to have to come down too.
Yeah, and that could work out for them if this thing stays green. So we'll have to see. But this restart here is going to be critical, Evan. These guys are going to need to get off to a good start. We are in the closing laps of this race now, and you've come this far. You do not want to get involved in an incident at this point. You need to keep it clean and find your way to the front of this race, because time is not on your side right now. As we've seen, these cars will spread out. As the lights go out on the pace car, these cars will spread out. And, it's going to be tough to get back up there if you're one of these people that have been spread out towards the back.
They will stack up as we get set to go. It's going to be an easy number for us. 20 cars on the lead lap. 6 machines have fallen off since the start of the race. We'll give you the incident recap. Krista Nelson had an incident earlier on in corner 4 with Austin Espedy. She is done. Will finish shotgun on the field in 26th out of 26, currently 63 laps down for the 25 car. Mark Nober is out of this race as well. Single car incident into the outside wall in corner 1, 25th and out of this race. Jack Bogan is down on the pit lane. That car had some issues earlier on as well. Another quote-unquote single car incident. He had some assistance, but nobody else went to the fence with him. He's still in this race technically. The car's on pit road. He's not in it, but they have not officially pushed it behind the wall. He will finish in 24th. 23rd is Chris Poole. The 15 machine had a single car incident down into corner number 1, down through corner 2. He's going to finish this race in 23rd. He's out of it. 2 cars are still on track, but are off the lead lap. 21st, 1 lap down is Vincent Blumenthal, and 22nd, 2 laps down is Chris Lanini. Everybody else, as we get set to go back green for what could possibly be the final restart in this race when we come down to what would be 28 laps to go in this. John Downing, Leandro Matos staying out. They need to pit still. Kingsbury, Laxton, Music, Espety, everybody else may have to pit, but they don't want to. The pace car's going to duck away, and for the second time tonight, a restart going to come up at a quarter number 4. Green flag now in the air. John Downing sets sail in the Sim Posters 82 car. Green flag back out at the Brickyard down to quarter number 1, and fuel strategy, the pit strategy, may decide this. 2 cars staying out up top.
Yeah, it just might. But right now, I see everybody getting off to a pretty good start here. Not a lot of cars. Whoa, Justin Laxton.
3 wide.
Yeah, 3 wide
this
up
getting
there.
real ugly for second contact. There you go. Justin Laxton hard into the outside of retaining wall. He said, "What are you doing?" at a 2, and it was getting real interesting, real dicey, real quick. And just like that, caution flag back out at the Brickyard, immediately taking a look at what happened. A lot happened, really. The 79 car of Leandro Matos got passed by Kingsbury. You saw Kingsbury get around him. The 79 car came off the fence a little bit. That's what Laxton was initially upset about, that he got chopped off there. Made it 3 wide, and then it looked like Laxton was just trying to get back in line, and he kind of kept going up and up and up and not giving much more room to Rick Music, who stuck the nose to the outside. They found each other, and Rick turned that entry up into the outside wall. Both Rick made heavy contact, as well as Justin Laxton. 2 cars hard into the outside wall, and then they split them going through. Again, a lot of these guys, very close calls, but it will be limited to a 2-car incident that sees one of the most fastest and consistent cars, Sean, all race long. Justin Laxton in trouble. He led, was a little bit slow on the first cycle of stops, was unable to recover from that, and it led to that incident right there, and effectively takes him out of competitive competition. Car's still running fairly good. The suspension's not all out of whack to a major extreme where you'll see some of these guys popping wheelies with the damage, but he does no longer have a front wing on that car.
Yeah, Laxton just hit the wall again. I think, unfortunately, that car is done. Yeah, he's taking it off the track and taking a tow. Rick Music, heavy damage on that car, too. He's, the contenders taken out of the race here, just right there in front of us, just barely back under green flag conditions again. And, a little risky there. It's a shame. Again, you hate to see some of your leaders go out, but now the window is open, and there is opportunity out there to be had, young man.
And I'm not sure, and again, I may just be reading the numbers wrong, but I don't know if the 79 wants to win this race or not, because this caution is exactly what he needed. Again, he still needs to pit. Everybody else was going to stretch it. Well, pretty much everybody else came back down pit road this time. They're good. Why on earth the 79 car did not pit, I have no idea. And unless I don't know if I'm getting my numbers here wrong, Sean, but Macho still has to come down pit road again. We were talking about how they're on a little bit of a different strategy, but he'll still be about 15 laps shy on fuel. This is exactly what he wanted, to be up front, have a caution, everybody else come down to be safe. He comes down, next thing you know, he's at the top of the field, but he stayed out. He last pitted on lap 58.
Yeah, I don't know. He must be hiding fuel there somewhere. Not really, but he's definitely got something up his sleeve here. I guess we're just gonna have to wait and see. But yeah, I'm surprised here with this move. But you know what? He's leading a lap right now. He's got that bonus point for a guy who hasn't run a whole lot of races yet this season. Looking pretty good after starting in 26th place.
And he was not the only car to stay out. Jason Robarge in the DuPonts out about to finish drive to end Hugger. The Rainbow Warrior Jeff Gordon inspired car stayed out as well. That machine last pitted with everybody else pretty much on the second last most recent pit stop back on lap 70. That I can understand that call, because this is now 2 yellows. May be able to get it to the point where he can stretch that all the way to the end of this. So he'll cycle up to P2 when the scoring updates, this time by the stripe. Everybody else pretty much coming down pit road. Carl Burke stays out. Also, Vincent Bluthenthal is a lap machine. Then you got Trevor Malone scored in 4th. Everybody else there has pitted in this. But again, I'm still sitting shy on the fuel strategy call here from that 79 camp, because again, he last pitted on lap 58. People are struggling to go 25. I don't think he'll get 42 out of it.
No, negatory, Ghost Rider. I don't think he'll get 42 out of it under any conditions.
And if he does, then I don't think he'll pass inspection.
Yeah, I'm thinking maybe not. Then we've got a real story on our hands for not just the league, but for iRacing.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't see, the car really doesn't look like a paintball gun. There's no big extra fuel cylinder sticking out of the top that he could store any additional fuel in. But we'll see how it shakes out because the lights are off on top of the iRacing Ford First Mustang pace car. We talk about it like this is the end of the race. We're pretty much there because now it's going to be nonstop action to the end, but still a quarter distance really to go in this event. This restart going to be coming up with 24 laps to go for the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Matos, Robarge, Burke, and Malone, the top four, staying out. Second through fourth need to make their fuel cell last 30 laps. They've had 2 yellows so far. Plausible. Fifth on back, go for it. They have nothing to hold back because they got a fresh tank, and you're going to be running that thing to the end here. And again, they're still right at 25 laps, but they should be good from the numbers we've seen so far. And then this Hail Mary, we'll call it, from the 79 camp of Leandro Matos. We will see. He'll be the control car. The pace car gets set to take the sharp left-hand turn, and down it goes to the safety of pit lane. 79 in control and has the decision to go from the pace car hits pit road to the green flag flies. He goes about 6 seconds or so in between there, really trying to throw a strategy call at it. Green flag back in the air and single file within the first 3 rows down to corner number 1. Side by side, top 5, side by side, top 10, but the top 2 single file for now.
Crazy out here at the back, man. Matt Kingsbury complaining about being chopped off a little bit right now, but it is getting pretty exciting here as we see George Gonzalo right now just kind of watching it all unfold in front of him. He's got 5 cars just fighting right in front of him, side by side, heading into the turn here. Pretty exciting view out of the cockpit there at George Gonzalo's window. Is now we've got 6 cars in the mix up there. And making a move there. Oh, got to check up. Oh, no, George had to check up. And he's in the inside retaining wall coming across the start-finish line. Hard contact for George Gonzalo. And darn it, I've cursed somebody else, Evan.
That's 3. We just went on board with him, made a move to the inside, and what happened was just in front of him, Bradley Walters was about to go 3 wide with Bluthenthal. Here comes George Gonzalo with a huge run and planted it in the fence. Got a fair amount of damage. Good news for him is he's yet to wreck it, so he may be able to limp around, but not going to be competitive as everybody blows on by him. Meanwhile, it did not take long for the 79 car to fall off at the top spot. Jason Robarge to the point after restarting in second spot. Matos continues to sit in second, 2 seconds back. Carl Burke, Trevor Malone, and company still in their top 4 running positions. You talked about how Kingsbury didn't like getting cut off. That's the same thing that happened to Laxton earlier. The cars that have dominated all race long now find themselves in the middle of this. Call it a hornet's nest, call it a fray, whatever it may be. They need to fight through it and somehow get back up there, and it's not going to be an easy task.
Big Joe Hassard looking a little racy, trying to maybe make a move on Espity there, and got really close there. Almost had a little bit of contact with him as now we see Espity trying to make a move there to get on the inside of Matt Kingsbury. Pulls it off, but it looks like Kingsbury's coming right back around, and man, they almost touched right there going into 2. That was close, Evan.
And this close quarters racing continues all over the racetrack. You see, they're 2 wide, at least 2 rows deep in that group of cars immediately side by side just in front of these guys, and now nearly contact behind them between Big Joe Hassard and Matt Kingsbury. That's a side-by-side. You got a side-by-side with now Leandro Matos. 3 wide, look at that. To the inside goes Trevor Malone, and to the inside of him goes Austin Espity. They were 3 wide, and now they're single file. They all thought better of it. Now Espity hard to the inside. He's digging, and he makes a move. Trevor Malone nearly in the fence. The right rear of that thing was at least maybe half an inch off of the outside retaining wall. It is go time, and now we're starting to see these cars on fresh tires and a full tank of fuel starting to plow their way through this field. Espity again with yet another move, this time to the inside of Matos. He's up to P2.
Man, we got less than 20 laps to go, and we are seeing the best of everybody right now because they are fighting tooth and nail right now. We see Matt Kingsbury here trying to make a move to the inside. Can't quite pull it off. He's going to tuck in line, but just ahead of him, Trevor Malone fighting and gets pushed up to the outside there, almost getting all the way up to the wall there. Matt Kingsbury, Ray Kingsbury, his brother, coming right up behind him there, and Malone right in the middle of that sandwich of the Kingsbury sandwich. And Jesse Vincent right there. He is being patient right now, just trying to stay out of trouble. But don't forget about Jesse Vincent. He's not done.
Do you think we can go 20 laps with this kind of racing? Malone's not happy that Kingsbury cut him off that way. Kingsbury wasn't happy that somebody else sliced him off earlier on in this run. Now you see Joe Hasser make the move to the inside. Espetee's down there again at that inside wall because he's trying to break the draft that everybody else is sucking up on. Does not work that time by, so Big Joe Hasser's able to get around. That's the Leandro Matos machine, because again, Espetee has already been able to get around this. Issue for all of these guys fighting, they're 3 seconds back. Look at this, Jason Robarge is gone. Trying to stretch that fuel cell 30 laps on the one, we'll call it number 2 of 3 different strategies. He's not trying to go 40 or rather 38, but he's not trying to go
Ray
25.
Kingsbury off the track. Ray Kingsbury off the track back here.
Oh, he's upside down. And he is disconnected. We're not going to get a caution. We would have, because that car with major issues for Ray Kingsbury inside of the top 10 and just by himself caught the fence and somehow does not take the wing off of Leandro Matos. Very close in that. The replay you saw, and he went spinning, caught the inside wall, was flipping up on track. Caution was just about a second away, and what he did was he Alt F4'd immediately out of his sim to the point where it shut it down immediately. That car never came to a stop, and because of that, the green flag stays out. We don't get a caution. That is great news for Jason Robarge.
Yeah, it is, but some of these guys that were hoping for that yellow flag, that would have been a perfect spot for it. Carl Burke all the way up to second place now. After starting in 20th place, Espetee up to third place from 22nd. You know, that last caution flag, I said it kind of really opened this thing up for everybody, and it certainly has. We've got some guys up here that are fighting for a win that, quite frankly, haven't even sniffed a podium this year, Evan.
And it's no surprise that Austin Espetee, who now slides into second after being able to catch the 027 to Carl Burke, get that spot. Not sure if he'll be able to make up the 1.8 seconds up to our race leader in the 64 unless he gets some major help from the Burke entry or something happens with Jason Robarge, because that's pretty much a 2-second gap now. But he's been able to get back up to P2. No surprise that he has the fastest lap that we have seen all night long in the books for that number 777 team. He's up to second after starting 22nd. This is after he started back there, made up some ground, got in an incident at 15th, went back to 20th, went up to 12th, went up to 6th, inside of the top 3, top 5, now runs in second, and he wants to see a caution so he can get one last shot at this, because I don't see him being able to make up 1.9 seconds by himself in what's now 14 laps to go.
You know, I just checked in with George Ansaldo. He's got that car back on the track. He's 4 laps down, but if he can just manage to stay in this thing and finish, he's guaranteed a 20th spot finish, and a couple of these cars in front of him have a little bit of trouble. Well, he's going to catch Ray Kingsbury because we know Ray's already left, so George is hanging in there. He's got that car back out there and going to just do the best he can right now to just hang on, finish this thing. He's only got just a few laps left to do it. So tough night for George, but glad to see he got back out.
16 cars remain on the lead lap. Last car there is John Downing, one of the cars that we saw. A little bit of that alternate pit strategy was shown for that camp. He works out of corner 4, while our leaders are working down into corner number 2. And the gap between P1 and the battle for P2 and 3rd with Austin Espetee and Carl Burke is not getting any smaller. If anything, it's continuing to extend. You see Espetee way up in front of him, already entering the corner, is that Jason Robarge entry on that strategy call. That 64 machine, again, not necessarily in the clear because there's so much fuel strategy-wise that has been going on in this. Leandro Matos, by the way, is still out there on track. He's gone now 30 laps on this fuel cell. He needs 12 more if he wants to make it to the end. At Corey Connor, very aggressive, the number 2 car, to the inside, trying to make a move on him. This is a fight for P9 down to quarter number 1. Matos trying to pull something ridiculous out of it. Everybody came down with 30 laps to go. We got a caution 5 laps later, which is right on the money of 25 laps, which is what everybody's been able to do tonight. Jason Robards did not come down for that insurance.
Matos.
Yeah, Matos has to come down. So that strategy, and I don't know why he didn't pit with everybody else, but it will not work. He has to come down. But Robards rolling the dice, trying to stretch this 30 laps versus the 25 laps that Espity needs to go. So there is still a chance that that 64 sputters at the end. He had 2 yellows. The question is that enough to make that car get all the way to the end and cross the yard of bricks?
Well, watching Matos come down the pit lane right now. He got in pretty slow, actually. He didn't really help himself. Got on the binders a little bit too early and didn't come in probably as hot as he would have liked to. As we see him come in, it looks like he's just taking some fuel. I'm not seeing any tires going that machine. It's well, it was up on the jacks, and we got tires and fuel. Matos is back out.
And at this point, tires or not, fuel or not, good entry or not, that race is gone for that team, because here comes Jason Robards. He'll go by him here down into corner 3, flying at 225 miles an hour all by himself. A race that he could have won, and whether it be by miscommunication or something, but did not elect to pit at 25 to go. Tried to stretch it, what would have been 38 laps, evidently ran out of fuel, just about 10 laps short, was forced down the pit lane and will fall off of the lead lap, and that hope will not come to fruition. So you got Robards 2 seconds in front of Espity, who somehow ran away from Carl Burke. He's 6/10 of the good. Nothing going to be brewing there. A couple of spots are close throughout this field, like P11. You got Dan Guerin and Robert Blowen fighting for it for 11th and 12th position. But other than that, things calm inside of the final 10 laps at Indy, which is something that you don't typically see. Carl Burke working hard, trying to get back up to that Espity entry, the 777, but Austin looks pretty fast in second.
This has been a great race. Been a lot of give and take. Guys have, for the most part, have been really patient with each other, and it seems like they've all bought into the concept of, needing to take care of the car. There are no resets. Damage here is just so easy to get. For the most part, these guys have really settled in and paid attention to that tonight. And we've got a lot of cars here battling still to get a top 10 or a top 5 finish. So really, we're getting here in the last 10 laps now, Evan. And, anything can happen.
Hearing one car may have just scraped the wall. We've seen a couple of those off of some of these restarts. People getting really close when you start to duke it out and you go at each other hard. Here's a fight inside of the top 5. How about to the inside in front of Matt Kingsbury? It's a fight between Joe Hassard and the car that makes the move on him, Carl Burke. Carl Burke sliding back now as Joe Hassard's able to make the move. So that is a fight for P3. You see them all snake down to the inside line, because that's where Big Joe Hassard goes. He goes to the outside, looking out the back of that car. Everybody else trailing him, trying to get the draft. And a car that gets real tight is Carl Burke. Contact! And Carl Burke is turned around. Caution is out, back up the racetrack. Here comes Matt Kingsbury, and up and over. A violent incident for the Valvoline entry, the 027 of Carl Burke. That quickly.
Hey,
I talked about the push, Sean. That car just would not turn. He had to get on the brakes. He got run over.
I was watching that when it happened. It was massive net code. That car just spun for no reason at all. Kingsbury wasn't even near him. The car just totally spun by itself.
And the net code, you can blame it on maybe like a left rear wheel falling off, but again, you saw it on that head-on angle right there. The prediction code at 202 miles an hour there, that car acted like he got hit, but again, it was Matt Kingsbury who, if you followed the line of those cars, they never would have met coming off the corner, so it's no fault of anybody, but it stems from Carl Burke getting really, really tight, driving it in hard on the back of Joe Hassard. They get checked up. Kingsbury, quote-unquote, gets into him. Somehow they both do 360s nearly and save them. And then when Matt comes back up on track, that car's suspension's all gone. He swerves to avoid the 69 of Trevor Malone. He goes back up the racetrack, hits the Carl Burke entry, and that's when Burke goes into the outside wall. He ends up flipping upside down and over, and the caution flag flies now. We're good on fuel. We know that at this point. Robarge is still going to save, but this is going to line us up right at about 3 laps to go, maybe right in that range for one final dash. You thought it was pretty crazy for P3 on that last one coming out of 2, and earlier on in this race where we saw trouble strike one of our fastest cars all night long in Justin Laxton when we were 4 wide. Wait till you see this final one.
Yeah, no kidding, man. Hey, great run by Jason Robarge to get that drive to end Hunger Machine up here towards the front of or to get him here at the front of the field. Great run for him. Austin Espity, who's had some bad luck here in recent weeks, doing really a fine job tonight to get that thing up in second place. Big Joe Hassert just won't be denied, man. He won't go away. The cream has kind of risen to the top, but we've also seen a couple other guys have some good fortune tonight and be able to keep those machines up front. On the other end of that, we've seen some of our best competitors in this series find the bad luck tonight, and not even in the mix right now. So, it's been just a great night. But yeah, we're gonna light this thing up with about 3 laps to go, and I expect we will see maybe a little paint being traded tonight, Evan.
And when contact in these cars comes at 220 miles an hour, well, we've seen what that leads to tonight. 14 cars will be on the lead lap and will be in a position to maybe steal this one. And the conclusion of this evening's Indianapolis 250 with the LionHeart IndyCar Series on the Global Sim Racing Channel is not that far away. Let's let you know where they all sit and who may be able to get this. Your current leader right now pulling the medium fuel strategy, trying to stretch it 30 laps, and now at his third caution should be able to do so. Jason Robarge qualified in 9th after being 19th in practice. He tops the board. Austin Espity. How good of a story would that be? In an incident. Actually, we'll start. He starts in the back. In an incident after moving up 6-7 spots. Continues to go through the field in the green flag runs. He's in second. Big Joe Hassert, one of the fan favorites, wants to come in. He wants to steal this one equally as so and get some assistance in his, and that would be a third trip to victory lane on this Season 2 racing campaign. Matt Kingsbury right there as well in that number 21 car with some damage on the right front of that car after being in that incident. 5th place is Trevor Malone. Even a Michael Chen who used the strategy call to get up there from the depths of the high teens after starting 11th, slid back a little bit, Sean. He could be up there as well in P6. Who knows if the top 3 guys will even make it to the end, because it can get very crazy. It will get very crazy. I'll correct myself on that. The lights go off on top of the iRacing Ford First Mustang pace car. The final restart coming down on this one will be 3 laps to go, laps 98 through 100. And that 64 car, this restart's going to be equally as important as how hard he drives on these next 3 laps.
Trevor Malone is sharing with our fans here on YouTube this evening that, he can text and drive, and that he feels like he's got this one in the bag. So Trevor Malone's going to get 3 laps to see what he can do in that big machine this evening. And I'd put the phone down and maybe do a little less texting and a little more focus right here, because you're going to need it. You got Matt Kingsbury in front of you, and he's not just going to let you ride around him. And we've got the mysterious Michael Chen lurking back there in 6th place. What's Michael Chen got to do to get here, finish this thing in the top 5? Trevor Malone's going to find out, and he's going to need all the focus he can get here to finish this one strong. But if he thinks he's got it, well, I like his chances then. But Jason Robarge is not giving up anything. He can smell victory. It's coming, and it's only 3 laps away.
And he is going to have to make that race car very wide and very fast if he wants to do so. He can lose the lead and go back at it, get it, and still get the checkered flag. But a caution, again, can come at any moment in these 3 laps. And your sim posters, top 5, Jason Robarge, Austin Espity, Joe Hassert, Matt Kingsbury, Trevor Malone. The final overdrive graphics restart to determine the checkered flag at the Indianapolis 250. Robarge in control. The pace car no longer a factor. It is out of the way. Robarge on the accelerator. Green flag flies. And final restart. Full speed down to quarter number 1. Looks like about 5 car lengths between P1 and P2. Fairly single file in the top 5.
Yeah, just checking things out back here. Everybody off to a pretty smooth start. I think everybody really would like to get this thing under green. Nobody doing anything too risky right now. Oh, no, we do see a car around.
There it is. It's over.
Looks like, yep.
Leandro Matos in that 79 car is around in corner number 2. That's going to be an incident in which to the inside went Vincent Bluthenthal, and they both just kind of met each other. It looks like Matos cut him off. Bluthenthal went up at him. They both met each other, and again, this is a fight back for 16th position and 15th position, a lap down, which evidently has these lead lap drivers furious, because I was about to say, here comes Austin Espety. He was flying about 5 miles an hour quicker than Robarge down the back. That means that he would have been there. And unfortunately, an incident. We'll say first off, unfortunately, an incident. But then again, unfortunately, an incident between two cars a lap down. Equally as so, have the right to fight for a spot as everybody else, because it is a position battle. But Matos just came down and looks like he kind of chopped the nose off there, and they kind of met each other on the inside. It was an aggressive move for Bluthenthal nonetheless, but he just got run into the grass. And unfortunately for Austin Espety, that would have been a wicked story, Sean. He almost got it. He'll have to settle for second. And Robarge plays the cars right. He comes home, or rather comes in pit road on lap 30 to go, does not come down with everybody else, does not take the safe way, ends up capitalizing on it. He was in the top spot when it mattered, and that is when the caution flag flew down the back straightaway at 3 laps to go. And as long as he can get around about 1 lap and a quarter or so and change under caution flag, he'll walk away with all the goodies tonight in our Triple Crown event.
Yeah, he will, and what a great win for that Drive to End Hunger machine. Really, really nice job by Jason Robarge and the machine, and the team tonight to get that thing into victory lane. And really unfortunate back there, that incident there with Matos and Bluthenthal. I mean, I realize it's the last. I don't know. I just think he maybe gotta just try and finish the race right there. And I know you're fighting for a position, but you are a lap down, and all those guys up to the front there. That could have been a really exciting finish that winds up with a yellow, and well, I don't know. Tough break for these guys after running so hard and so good for so many green flag laps tonight, Evan.
It is a tough break, and not to mention some of those lead lap drivers already were told that happy with some of the cars that were involved in that incident. And again, there's no rules that say you can't fight for a position when you're lap down. Equally as so, they have the right to fight for 15th 1 lap down, as a guy does for 10th. But you hate to see that cars laps down. And it's one thing, lap cars mix it in with the leaders, but when lap car hits lap car, way back half a straightaway away from the leaders. And again, Espety was coming. Joe Hassett was right there. Trevor Malone, Kingsbury, they were in a position to steal. And not even just the top 5, but everybody else all the way through 6th to about 14th position could have fought for it. Points, double points is huge when you look at it anyways, and it's a tough break for all of those guys as we go into 3 for the final time.
Yeah, and we're going to see some major movement in the points here. With the run some of these guys have had tonight. Robarge and Espety, and Malone getting a nice finish. Michael Chin coming out of nowhere, showing up tonight and getting a top 10 finish. So Pierre Daigle having a good run here is going to wind up with a top 10 finish. So big points tonight for these guys. Some of them are really going to benefit from a great race and good strategy, especially Jason Robarge.
He comes out of quarter number 4 for the final time after starting P9, a pit strategy call with 30 to go, and then electing not to come back down at 25 to go is going to pay off. It's going to be his first top 5, 4th top 10 on the year. Checkered flag, and the Indianapolis 250 goes in favor. The 64 of Jason Robarge walks away with the checkered flag. The Drive to End Hunger DuPont Automotive Finishes Rainbow Warrior entry will be your victor this evening at the Brickyard. Austin Espety comes home in 2nd. Big Joe Hassett 3rd. Trevor Malone and Matt Kingsbury round out the top 5. 14 total will finish on the lead lap. There's a lot more to talk about. There's post-race interviews and so much more to come from the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. The GSRC post-race show coming up in just a moment. We'll step away, get all our drivers riled up, and we'll see you back down on the pit lane in just a moment. Back live at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, where the Indianapolis 250 for round 11 of 18 on the Season 2 2015 Racing Series campaign for the LionHeart IndyCar Series has come to a close. And you don't want to call it an anticlimactic finish, but we saw the strategy come into it, and unfortunately ending under the caution flag. Jason Robards will take it either way. The 64 car is your victor tonight in the DuPont Automotive Finishes Drive to End Hunger Rainbow Warriors Jeff Gordon inspired car. That is a lot to say, but I've said it all night, so we'll stick with it. Unfortunately, that team is already celebrating, and they're going to walk away with everything that counts with a Triple Crown victory, which is a $5 bonus, a Indy 500 hardcover book, a 18 by 24-inch sim poster from John Downing and the guys at Sim Posters, and a paint scheme courtesy of Overdrive Graphics and Justin Laxton. So we'll give you the full field rundown and let you know where they all stacked up after a very eventful Indianapolis 250. It was Robards who finished atop the pile. Austin Espety would come home in second. Our biggest mover and nearly completing the Cinderella story at the end comes up one spot short after gaining 20 spots throughout the night. A top 10 car, Big Joe Hazard, almost takes it as well. He comes home in third. Fourth to Trevor Malone. Matt Kingsbury finishes exactly where he gridded up, P5. Sixth for Michael Chin on one of those major pit strategies. Came down 10 laps into it, was off cycle, and put himself at a spot where he was able to get a good finish out of it, but it was all said and done. Jesse Vincent, don't want to call him a non-factor, but was just shy of that lead pack all night long. Top 10, though, solid run, will be a P7. Eighth place this evening to the 2 car of Corey Connor. You got Pierre Deigel in ninth after starting 23rd. A great pickup for that team after gaining pretty much right on par with about 14 or so spots to get to where he ended up finishing and rounding out your top 10. The 48 car, that's Robert Bluen.
Yeah, and Dan Guerin, tough night for Dan, but he comes home with an 11th place finish here on the lead lap. So all in all, not a bad effort for Dan. Alfred Shepard had a lot of work to do now tonight, starting back there in 19th, but he does manage a 12th place finish. John Downing, tough night for John, qualified 24th and still manages a 13th place finish. He was avoiding trouble out there all night. Bradley Walters finishes 14th. Vincent Blumenthal, who we saw get caught up there in that last incident that brought out the final caution, he finishes 15th place, a lap down. Chris Lanini, 16th place, 2 laps down. Leandro Matros, 4 laps down and 17th place. George Anzaldo, tough night for him, was having a great run and then caught that inside retaining wall coming across the start-finish line. George finishes 18th, 4 laps down. Carl Burke just behind him in 19th. And rounding out the top 20, tough night for Ray Kingsbury. No, he can't be happy. 20th place.
A lot of drivers that looked good at the start. We talked about you needed to make it to the end, and that's why you see a lot of the big names back here. Justin Laxton was one of the dominant cars up until the first cycle of pit stops. He ended up in the outside wall in the fence at a corner 2. Comes home in 21st. Along with him, Rick Music, another car that was a top 10, has to settle for 22nd. 23rd to the 15 of Chris Poole. You got Jack Bogan back there in 24th. 25th to Mark Nobert, and then Kristen Nelson being the first car that had some trouble early on after contact with Austin Espety. She comes home shotgun P26 out of 26. Down on the pit lane now, in the pit stall of the number 11 car, Sean Ambrose, you have caught up with our 3rd place finisher tonight, Joe Hazard.
I have caught up with Big Joe Hazard down here in Victory Lane and enjoying the podium celebration. Joe, 100 laps. You managed to get there in P3. How you feeling, buddy?
Well, I'm always happy about a podium, but I wish we could have gotten that last run there. I think me and Austin had something there for the win. So disappointed how the race finished, but happy with the overall result.
Yeah, and you talk about Austin. He's had some hard luck this season. Managed to be a pretty good partner there at the end. It is a shame that you guys didn't get to race that all the way down to the checker, but great effort for the team tonight, Joe. You looking forward to getting on the road course next time?
Absolutely not.
Not a fan of the Glen? What's up?
I should be okay. I'm not, obviously my results have spoken for themselves that I struggle on the road. So hopefully I can get some good practice in and turn some laps there. It should be okay. I've raced a lot of laps on the Cup configuration, so the IndyCar is just a little easier to turn. So we should be okay.
Well, it's always exciting when you're out there on the track there, Big Joe, and we'll look forward to seeing you there at Watkins Glen next week. Even though we won't be on the broadcast, some of us will make our way up there to New York and check you out there on the twists and turns of the Glen. Great effort for you tonight. Thanks a lot, and we will see you down the road, buddy. Be safe.
Sounds good. Thanks, Sean.
All right, Evan. And you are ready to get back into victory lane here with somebody else now, eh?
We're a little bit further down pit road with somebody that I'm sure would have liked to be able to get there, and we followed this car throughout the night because it was an interesting adventure. Started 22nd, gained spots, got in an incident, said, hey, that car doesn't look that bad. Next thing we knew, he was in 12th, 6th up there, and was maybe a couple 100 feet shy of a checkered flag in this one, but a caution holds him at bay. We're down on pit road with the 777 of Austin Espity. Austin, it's a P2 for you. First off, what are you thinking on that final restart and how it all went down?
Final restart, I was determined because I knew Jason probably didn't have enough fuel to go all the way on green, so I was determined to get by him early so I wouldn't get stuck behind when he did run out. But unfortunately, caution came out and it just played into Jason's favor.
Game so close. It was an adventurous night for you. You had contact with Krista Nelson earlier on. That sent her car behind the wall. You got that thing fixed up, though, and you slowly made the progression spot by spot all the way through the field, through a long green flag run, through green flag pit stops, and then through all that strategy that went down at the end. How'd you get back there up to the top after sliding back to 20th early on?
Well, when I had the contact with Krista, I was completely, I didn't even know what happened there. I kind of got the move and slid up the track a little bit. But after that, it didn't say I had any damage, but the car was just a rocket ship, so I didn't know if it gave it less downforce, and it just got me trimmed out, but I was just flying on a rail all the way up to the field, and fortunately the cautions didn't fly when I wanted them to, but it was a good race.
You're able to walk away with your fourth top 5, therefore your fourth top 10. So if you're up there, you're right in the thick of things. Rolling forward now, this is race 11 of this 18-race campaign. The season's starting to draw near a close, knowing that, and it's very interesting to look at some of these stats. You'll see a lot of guys where they had significantly less top 5s than top 10s, so you know that they're kind of there playing. But if you're up there, you're in the top 5. If you're not up there right with those guys up front, you're having some issues. What do you think the key is going to be for you and the guys in the 777 team to be able to continue to be aggressive and get the finishes like this, continue to put yourselves in positions such as you did tonight on Hunt for a Checkered Flag?
Well, I know next week at Watkins Glen I'm really decent. I'm really good on the road courses, so there should be almost like a almost guaranteed top 5 for me. Not trying to brag or anything, but then coming out, it's just qualifying good, staying up front, good strategy, and just being able to finish races without any incidents.
We'll take that for sure. Before we let you go, Austin, sponsors and shout-outs, all of the people that you want to thank. Who makes it happen?
I would think Ray Kingsbury and LLM. They really got me to get into the IndyCar and be able to go fast in it.
All right, well, thanks for talking with us. We wish you and pretty much everybody else as well the best of luck rolling forward. You mentioned it, Watkins Glen is in 1 week's time. We won't be back out with the cameras until we see you in Texas, but good luck in Watkins Glen, New York, and we'll see you in a couple of weeks once again with the cameras in Texas, hoping for a good run for there, you guys as well.
Thank you.
That is your second place finisher tonight, and he feels like, and some others may feel like, that he should have got that shot and may be in victory lane, but it's going to be a P2. Still a great run for the Austin Espity entry after having to fight through quite a lot to be able to get back up there and get in a position that would allow him to fight. And we'll try to toss one more interview in this. Sean Ambrose will send you down there. Looks like you're near the pit of the number 69 car of Trevor Malone, and you'll get to catch up with him. He started P12 in this one, and he is able to walk away with a 4th place when it's all said and done.
Hey, Trevor, checking in with you, buddy. Nice run for you tonight, and pick up a couple spots there in the championship points. Got to be feeling pretty good about that run tonight, huh?
Oh, definitely. It took a lot of patience. I'm normally not a patient driver, but I decided to just hold it out a bit. The first couple of laps, stayed around about 10th or 9th or so, and I guess I didn't want to push it too far. And when I went to get some fuel, I just decided to stay out on that last caution, and I don't know. It just was on a whim, and I saw Jason go ahead and stay out, and I was like, okay, I might as well do it. And I was about .2 off, and it turned out pretty well. I wanted to go ahead and finish first, but oh well.
Well, it's still a great effort. Again, you pick up those spots in the championship points. Got to be excited about this as we're getting into the closing stages of this season 2 here in the LionHeart Racing Series. What are you looking for in Watkins Glen?
Ooh, that's probably going to be me and Jesse fighting. Last year we fought quite a bit during the road courses, so I'm looking for Jesse right now. I'm going to beat him this time, hopefully.
Who do you want to thank for tonight's run there, Trevor?
Well, all the admins for LionHeart, they've been very great to us. Just pretty much everybody, broadcast, LionHeart, iRacing, everybody. I've been having a lot of fun lately. I haven't been racing hosted or anything like that, but this is great racing, and I love it.
Well, Trevor, we certainly love watching you get around this track here at Indy tonight, and we wish you the best at Watkins Glen. Thanks a lot for coming on with us. We're going to throw it back to Evan here and close out an exciting night of racing here at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. 250 miles, 100 laps, hard fought, and Evan, we saw a great one tonight.
And yellow flag finish, which is very uncommon to see, only the second time in about a season and a half now, a little bit plus there in the history of this LionHeart IndyCar series that we have seen a caution flag finish. Jason Robards, I told you he'd take it one way or another. Don't have the opportunity to talk to him, but he is your winner after starting in P9. He walks away with all the spoils of a Triple Crown checkered flag, the $5 purse for P1, an Indy 500 hardcover book, the 18 by 24-inch poster of his car from John Downing and the guys at Sim Posters, and then a paint scheme from Justin Laxton in Overdrive Graphics. You said it, John, 100 laps, 250 miles, and almost half the field ended up behind the wall. It's Indy for you. Fun, exciting racing, high-speed, exciting racing, and aggressive, exciting racing. We saw everything there. You can't complain. We saw a little bit of everything. You had the fuel strategy, a really long green flag run, the big incidents that makes this IndyCar oval racing infamous, and at the end of the day, Jason Robards with that fuel strategy call, and with maybe a little bit of luck on that yellow as well, ends up in victory lane. Before we send it off, and again, we won't be back till Texas, but Watkins Glen is in 1 week's time. What are your final thoughts on tonight's Indianapolis 250?
Man, you know what? I was really impressed with the league tonight. I think on the whole, I think we did see a lot of give and take tonight, man. You can get in trouble at this track. We talked about it early in the race. We talked it before the race. You've got to take care of the car, and I think a lot of guys were successful with that tonight, and we saw some people here get up towards the front that we haven't seen do a lot of that this season. I think from that standpoint, it was an exciting race. We saw some attrition there at the end, and that's unfortunate. But all in all, I think it was a great Indianapolis 250. All these guys should be proud of their effort, and I know they're going to start laying down the laps here. Probably some of them tonight are going to head to the Glen and start putting in some laps and start working on that next Iron Butt Challenge, Evan.
And that's something that these guys, and again, for more information on that, you can check them out. There's a whole lot of people we got to thank for making this possible. We talked about the sponsors, Overdrive Graphics, Sim Posters. Cannot thank them enough for making this series possible. Everybody that helps with the streaming equipment, the iRacing.com Motorsport Simulator, XSplit for free and easy live streaming and recording, the Audio Technica Corporation, Aver Media USA. Those are the people that make the stream possible and bring it to you in high definition on GSRC. The people at LionHeart that literally put it together, the Chief Steward, John Downing, Public Relations, George Anzaldo, and the League Administrators, Joe Hassert and Drew Montz. Additional thanks to more people to make our broadcast top-notch. Camera sets, as always, provided by Dougie Beard, and music provided by Eric Ekholm. Tell them where you're here to go to ERIKEKHOLM, EricEkholm.com. Stay up to date with the Global Sim Racing channel. Although it will be 3 weeks till we have more LionHeart action, there's a lot more coming on. Check us out online, globalsimracingchannel.com, Twitter at GSR Channel, Facebook.com youtube.com/Global Sim Racing Channel, and then the information on the series, the LionHeartRacingSeries.com, bringing this spectacular racing forward every time we're out with the cameras on a Wednesday evening. This week on Global Sim Racing Channel, something new on Saturday the 11th, Season 2, Round 1 from Martinsville at 9 o'clock p.m. Eastern for the Bootleg SK Modified Series. Next time that this series is out is going to be at Watkins Glen, but until then, on behalf of the broadcast crew tonight, my partner in crime, Sean Ambrose, director Amjad Yaman, myself, Evan Prosoko, wish these drivers the best of luck in Watkins Glen. We'll see you in 3 weeks' time for the Lone Star State. Good night from Indianapolis.